Most people looking for a zero capital side hustle are actually looking for a second job they can do in their pajamas. They want the extra income, but they approach the internet with the same mindset they bring to their 9 to 5, trading blocks of time for blocks of cash. That framing is the first problem. Free to start does not mean free of effort, and it certainly doesn't mean the results will come quickly, or at all. Most zero capital side hustles offer quick entry, but no scalability. A bit of cash today, but no real progress toward anything that lasts. This video is going to change how you think about that. We're going to look at why most side hustles stall, which ones actually build toward something, and what the hidden costs are that most content in this space conveniently skips over. No income promises, no overnight framing. Just a structured look at what your options actually are and how to choose the right one for your situation. If you're watching this, you likely fall into a specific profile. You have a full-time job or you're a student. Your disposable income is limited and your available time is narrow, somewhere between 5 and 12 hours a week. In that position, your biggest risk isn't losing money, since we're starting with zero capital. Your biggest risk is losing your limited energy on tasks that don't compound. That's a cost that doesn't show up on a balance sheet, but it's real. You don't need motivation. You need a strategic extension of your existing skills, a system that respects your current financial stability while building optionality on the side. Stability first, expansion second. Before we get into specific opportunities, we need to establish a framework, because while all of these hustles can be started for nothing, they are not equal. And understanding the difference is more important than knowing the list. The 3 levels. There are 3 broad categories of zero capital online income, and the category matters far more than the specific hustle you pick. The first is quick cash activity. High effort, low skill. Microtasks, data entry, basic platform work. The barrier to entry is essentially zero, which means the competition is global and the pay reflects that. You can see results within a week, but there is no skill compounding here. Doing 1,000 microtasks does not make you better at the next one. It is an income floor, not a path. The second is the skill-based services. This is where the realistic earning potential sits for most people starting without capital. Freelance writing, design, editing, web development, social media management. Virtual assistants, you are being paid for a demonstrable capability, not just your time. You are still trading hours for income, but at a significantly higher rate, and that rate can grow as your reputation does. The third is digital assets, content channels, newsletters, digital products, affiliate-supported platforms. This is the only category that eventually decouples your income from your time. Output that you create once continues to generate value beyond the hours you actively put in. But the timeline is long, the early returns are minimal, and many people who start here never reach meaningful traction. Only one of these categories actually compounds over time. We'll come back to that. First, the breakdown. The opportunity breakdown microtask and platform work. The setup's instant. The income can appear within a week, and the leverage is essentially non-existent. This is where most beginners start and where most beginners quietly quit. The pay is compressed by global competition. The work does not build transferable skill, and the time-to-return ratio is poor once you account for the hours spent. It has a role as an orientation point, a way to understand how online income works before committing to something more strategic. It should not be the destination. Freelance services. This is the most direct path to replacing a part-time income for someone starting from zero. Platforms like Upwork, Fiverr, and similar marketplaces give you access to an existing client base without a marketing budget. You list a service. Clients find you. You deliver and build a track record. The challenge is not access, it's differentiation. These platforms are competitive, and a new profile with no reviews is competing against established providers who have both. The early period requires patience, competitive pricing, and a willingness to over-deliver on initial work to build social proof. Time to first consistent results is typically 1 to 3 months. The leverage here grows as your reputation does. And if you eventually productize your service, turning a custom project into a repeatable system, the leverage grows further. Tools that reduce friction in this category, portfolio builders, proposal workflows, scheduling platforms, are worth knowing about. They don't create clients. They reduce the administrative drag that slows down early momentum, which for someone with limited hours matters more than it might seem. Online tutoring and consulting. If you have a degree, a professional certification, or deep subject knowledge, you have what most people overlook: hidden capital. Specialized knowledge on a platform with genuine demand is a faster path to meaningful income than general freelancing, because the competition pool is smaller and the rates are higher. The constraint is delivery. Your presence is still required. This sits firmly in Tier 2. Higher value than microtask work, but still hour-dependent until you find a way to package the knowledge into something that doesn't require you to show up every time. Time to first results is typically 3 to 6 weeks, depending on how specifically your knowledge maps to demonstrated platform demand. Digital content and asset creation. This is the entry point to Tier 3, and it deserves the most honest framing of anything on this list. Starting a newsletter, an Ambiba YouTube channel, or a library of digital templates costs essentially nothing. The zero capital claim is technically accurate, but the real cost is months of unpaid output before any meaningful return appears. Most channels take 6 months to a year before generating anything beyond nominal income. Many never reach that point at all. That is not a reason to avoid this category. It is a reason to enter it with accurate expectations. Now, if you treat content creation as an asset-building activity with a long-time horizon, rather than a side hustle with near-term income expectations, the calculation changes significantly. The people who succeed here are not the ones who started faster. They are the ones who stayed longer. The hidden costs. Every zero capital opportunity carries a tax that tends to get glossed over in content that prioritizes excitement over accuracy. Platform dependency is real. If a significant portion of your income flows through a single platform, you are exposed to algorithm changes, policy updates, and decisions entirely outside your control. Diversification matters, even in the early stages. Saturation levels vary. When a side hustle is easy to start, everyone starts it. The entry-level tier of almost every freelance category is crowded. Competing in that space without a clear differentiator makes the early period harder than it needs to be. The answer is skill depth, moving away from the generalist pool into something specific enough that the competition thins out. Time imbalance is consistently underestimated. The honest calculation is not, how much can I earn? But what is the actual hourly return on this activity, including setup, admin, and unpaid work? Many zero capital hustles look viable until you run that number. Burnout risk increases when side hustle work closely mirrors your day job demands. The people who sustain this over time tend to be working in areas that feel at least marginally distinct from their primary employment, different enough to not drain the same reserves. The biggest constraint in this space is not money. It's leverage. If you are not building a skill that becomes more valuable over time, you are not building a side hustle. You are picking up a shift at a digital factory. The output disappears the moment you stop, not choosing the right path. The decision is not about which hustle has the highest income ceiling. It is about matching the opportunity to your actual constraints. If you have fewer than 5 hours a week, microtask and entry-level platform work is a reasonable starting point. But treat it as orientation, not strategy. Use it to understand how online income actually functions while you identify a skill worth developing. If you have 5 to 10 hours a week and an identifiable professional skill, so freelance services offer the most direct path to meaningful income within a realistic time frame. Expect the early period to require more output than immediate return. That is structural, not a signal that something is wrong. If your available skill is specialized, accounting, software development, legal, medical, lean toward consulting and high-value services rather than general freelancing. The rates are higher, the competition is thinner, and the path to productizing your knowledge is clearer. If you have a longer time horizon and you're willing to build without early financial return, digital assets are worth the investment. But enter that path knowing the timeline honestly. The people who build content into something real are not the ones who were most talented at the start. They are the ones who treated it like a long-term system and did not abandon it when the early returns were negligible. If you genuinely have no professional skill to leverage yet, the most honest framing is this: your side hustle right now is not making money. It is acquiring a skill that will allow you to make money. Use your available hours for that. It is the highest return activity available to you. The longer arc. Most people who build lasting income outside their primary job follow a similar pattern. They start with services. They build a reputation within a specific niche. As their client base develops, they raise their rates and reduce their client volume, moving from broad, lower-rate work to specialized, higher-value delivery. At some point, the skills they have developed and the credibility they have built create the conditions for digital assets, products, content, affiliate relationships that begin to generate returns beyond direct hours worked. That transition does not happen quickly. It does not happen without deliberate effort during the service phase. And it does not happen for people who spend the service phase chasing urgency rather than building depth. The difference between people who develop lasting income outside their primary job and those who cycle through ideas without traction is rarely access to better opportunities. It is the decision to build leverage rather than chase the fastest available return. Start with the category that fits your actual constraints. Build the skill before expecting the income. Stay in it long enough for the compounding to become visible. Income follows leverage, not urgency.